Hello my friends. Welcome to Reddit Rabbit. Before we start, catch the rabbit at the bottom right corner, smash that subscribe button and leave a comment. r/AskReddit. What do Americans think is normal, but is actually very weird? For some reason, their advertising system. Like dude, it's seriously not okay to show me ads of medicine for me to recommend my doctor to prescribe it to me. Also, the frick is your problem with ads right after a show's introduction? I know, right? Before Netflix and such came along, it took twice as long to watch a movie when it aired on TV, because there was literally as much ad time as content time. Boggled my mind. A 2-hour movie gets edited down to 1 hour 40 minutes, but takes 3 hours to finish. The way movies are shown on TV are the most bullet unconscionable travesty I've ever seen. Having someone go through a movie and cut out bits they think are boring or aren't important? Like you lose half the story and all of the build up, and all you get to watch are the few action sequences that you have no idea why anything is happening anymore. And just as you're getting into it, it cuts to commercial. Like who thought this was a good idea? Why is anyone surprised that pirating movies is a thing? I'm so glad I don't deal with that crap anymore. I am sick and tired of these monkey frying snakes on this Monday to Friday plane. Your bloody weird toilet cubicles. Why is there such a big gap? Why does everyone need to be able to see me while I'm doing a number 2? Why can't they have full-length doors like the rest of the world? I have a form of dwarfism and I cannot stand this. Growing up, I was used to children following me in the restroom to stare through that enormous crack. And who decides the length on the stall walls? The worst is when the bottom of the stall is floating mid-air. Occasionally it's built all the way up to my hip. Don't even get me started on the bizarrely fashioned sinks that no children are capable of washing their hands on their own unless your arms reach a certain length. My siblings and family and friends would wet a paper towel for me with soap, one with water, and one dry one everywhere we went, plus hand sanitizer, because being short equals using my hands to climb up onto everything. Traveling around different parts of the world outside of America made me see different cultures really make it a point to make using their restroom a part of the hospitality. Of everywhere I've visited, however, US is number 1 in handicap accessible restrooms that are private and usually have smaller and shorter sinks, and or will offer stools if you ask. Will offer stools if you ask. No thanks, I'll be making my own. Being interested in college sports. I know nowhere else where a school's sports team is of national interest. They're basically our lower tier leagues. Most of our popular modern sports evolved out of college sports in the first place. Price tags at the grocery that leave tax off. As an American, I've trained myself to look at a $9.99 item and say, oh, that's $10.89. The sales tax where I live is 9%. Yeah, I just round everything up to the nearest dollar. Usually keeps my fairly close end total. It is obnoxious though. Astronomical portion sizes. I went to an IHOP once and the omelette was crazy huge and even the coffee cup was 2x as big as normal. Food is cheap. Overhead is not. The patron doesn't complain about a $12 omelette when it is massive. The addition foodstuffs only cost like 30 cents. In American casual dining restaurants, it's basically expected that you'll ask for what you don't eat to be boxed for take home. They see good service as offering you 2 meals for the price of 1. Basically, every time I've been in a high-end American restaurant $150 plus, the portions have been very small, because you're paying for the experience. I went to an IHOP once as well and ordered a plate of pancakes that came with free unlimited refills. I didn't even finish the first plate. Why anyone would want a refill on that was beyond me. Most don't take the refill, but it makes you feel like you're getting more value for the money. A plate of pancakes costs almost nothing in terms of food cost, so charging you $12 with the promise of refills seems like a good deal. Calculating whether or not to go to the hospital based on the likelihood that you'll die. Can I ask, do Americans actually make tea by putting the cup in a microwave? Since I got so many replies I can't read them all, but I have learned many people use a microwave because it's quicker, but only some people use a kettle. But people seem to think a kettle is only used for tea, which I find a bit weird since I use a kettle to cook instant noodles quicker or to make a cup of soup or to make gravy. But how do Americans make coffee if they don't have a kettle? Many do. This is probably because American electrical systems deliver less voltage to appliances, so our electric kettles take longer to boil than British electric kettles. We also don't drink as much tea in general, so a lot of homes like to have an occasional cup of tea, but don't own a stovetop or electric kettle. I drink a shitload of tea, so I own an electric kettle, but I have to put the water in thermoses to keep it hot enough to brew tea, because frick having to wait 5 minutes every time I want a cup. Even at 110 volt 5 minutes is much too long. You shouldn't have to wait more than 1.5 minutes with a decent kettle for a large cup's worth of water. Are you cooking more water than needed? That will slow it down. Tip-based economics. Just pay your employees. Yeah, and then a tip is actually a tip and not a necessity to supplement your salary. This is like Gollum clutching at the precious. Tip-based welfare. Varying payment based on quality seems like an okay principle. Not that it's done much at all in the UK. But it's the idea that the lowest earners aren't protected in law at all from having subsistence level income denied them on the whim of selfish customers is bizarre in the non-US Western world. Most Americans don't know credit score is unique to their country, and that their economy encouraged people to live in debt in order to build a credit score, while a lot of other countries' population have savings and don't use credits to buy anything else than a house or a car. I do think banks are winning this trade by making huge interest rate, and that it also push people to consume more than they should or could, which is necessary for capitalism. In a way, when you consider what you can get or not depending only on your credit score, there is a comparison to make with the infamous social credit score used in China. You know what pisses me off even more? These credit companies, Equifax and TransUnion, mostly have all my personal details and history, and there's nothing I can do about that. The only way to not exist in their book is to be off the grid, which would just make it easier for someone else to steal your identity. Oh, and if someone pretends to be you and a bank lends them money, somehow it's your problem. Dealing with this right now. Someone took my information, but I'm the one who has to jump through hoops to fix it. Ridiculous. Wearing outside shoes inside your house. It's pretty split on that one. My family has always taken our shoes off, but I know some people don't. Eating as if they had free healthcare. This is sadly true. Stop the obesity. The rest of the world is getting fatter. It is America's fault, but give it another 50 years and the whole America's fat thing will go away and it will just be the word is fat. Until we stop relying on overprocessed, corn syrup filled foods, it will continue to be a problem. So many tips in restaurants. Tax not being included in price. Having to transfer flights in Atlanta or Dallas. Having to pay for hospital treatment or health insurance. Electing orangutans. Credit score having an effect on employment or rental. Not getting free food and alcohol on flights. Taking shoes off at airports. Capitalism being focused on companies, not consumers. High fructose corn syrup. Arkansas. Voting on a weekday. Not traveling abroad. Edit. Taking your country super seriously. Be more like Britain and indulge in some self-loathing. When you said Arkansas, I felt it. Why is it pronounced like Arkansas? America explain. That's how the Native Americans pronounced it and it came from their language. Having poor people that can't afford healthcare vote against having healthcare for the sake of the poor billionaires. Having educated middle-class citizens crippled by any medical expense. It's unreal that this doesn't make people disgusted. Like, literally half the country thinks, "Meh, I just won't see a doctor this decade to save money," and yet they are convinced that's the best possible way of doing things. Freaking conservatives, I swear. How can these people be so against their own country being healthy? How? It's insane. It's hard to think outside the bounds of your own experience. If you've only ever experienced healthcare one way, you're likely to accept it that way and assume that's the only best way for it to be. There is a massive campaign to keep people convinced that this is the best way. The current arrangement benefits many people. I think fear is the answer. People who have ample healthcare fear that if it were granted to everyone that it would impact their own service. Remember, the Republicans warned their base about death panels. The idea that healthcare would be rationed. When it was pointed out that healthcare is being rationed right now by private corporations, they responded that it was rationed in their favor, so it was good.